So welcome to another episode of Sofa Chat. I told y'all we live back in the studio. Holy crap. Because we've been out of the studio for a little bit. We were back in the studio last week after being out of the studio for a week and then taking an episode off for Mother's Day. So y'all ready for today's jam-packed episode? So before we get any further, gotta let you know our disclaimer. Like always, everything we share on Sofa Chat is solely the opinion and the lived experience of the individual. Sofa Chat does not endorse any company, any organization, or any product. But if y'all want to throw us a sponsorship, we're more than welcome to catch it, of course. So it's been a really packed week. This week coming up will be also another packed week. This upcoming Thursday, right, babe? Mm-hmm. This upcoming Thursday is the flag raising ceremony at Bronxboro Plaza with the Bronxboro President, Vanessa L. Gibson. So we will be in attendance for that. That starts at 3 p.m. on 161st and Grand Concourse, right there on the corner. So definitely, if you have the opportunity and you have nothing to do or you want to come out and support, definitely come out and support. It'd be greatly appreciated. We will also, next weekend, we will be potentially hitting you guys up with a special episode on Saturday. I still have to talk to, my co-producer on the other ends of this awesome camera to make sure it's okay. I kind of tend to throw things at you guys before I completely go through it with him. But then again, it always works out. This week has been a really, really amazing week. We've gotten a lot of stuff done. If you guys have not gone on to the nytbf.info website, please go on. There are still some changes and some updates that are being made. But for competitors, and this is specifically for competitors, please go on so that you can get your registration. Registration is already open. The event is happening on August 20th. So it's something you definitely don't want to miss.
You don't want to miss out. We're talking about cash prizes, all kinds of things going on.
That's right. Cash prizes, trophies, so many wonderful opportunities that come out of that. In addition to that, do we have anything else coming up, babe, that I'm missing?
Let's see. We have some performances coming up.
So, performances, you remind me of the challenge. So, we've been getting a whole bunch of responses for the Just Slay challenge. So, if you happen to see, of course, Just Slay on a train, on a billboard, on a commercial, record it, take a snapshot, send it
selfie.
in.
Yeah, selfie.
Make sure you are in the selfie. It cannot be just an image of the poster. I need you in the image. We're getting a lot of responses, so we'll be actually giving out that prize. The last show of Sofa Chat, which is July 24th, we'll be live in a studio in the city. Haven't divulged the location yet because we want you guys to go online and email us at sofachat02@gmail.com. That's where you'll also send in your submissions for your Just Slay challenge. Request your tickets. Tickets are selling out quickly, so definitely, and they're free. They're free. So definitely go online. Space is limited, so you definitely want to go and get your tickets. In addition to that, my husband and I will be gracing the stages at Harlem Comedy in Harlem on June 25th. Tickets are $20. We will be raffling off a set of tickets in the next few weeks. So if you have not gotten some tickets, you definitely need to get them because, they're selling out quick, ladies and gentlemen, friends and family and followers.
Also, happy Memorial Day weekend.
Yes. Oh, it's a couple of things. So you got Happy Memorial Day weekend. And for those of you who did not know, today is actually Mother's Day, Dominican Mother's Day. So to all of my Dominican mothers out there, happy Mother's Day. And to my aunt, happy Mother's Day. Titi, I hope you're watching. Anything else I'm missing?
No, I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just saying happy Memorial Day to me. for me. You know what I'm saying? That's a big holiday, for us out here also, for a lot of people.
It is. It is. Our neighbors are actually enjoying a nice little barbecue outside, so we may join them a little later if they're still enjoying this barbecue in the evening. So yeah, there's a lot coming up in the next couple of weeks. Definitely, like I said, get your tickets for the in studio live audience of Sofa Chat in July, towards the ending of July. Definitely get your tickets for Comedy in Harlem on the 25th. There are also several other events going on for the month of Pride, which is June, which is the month that's coming up right now in the next couple of days. So there's a lot of events. We'll be posting them up. Please definitely show up, show out, and show support. Um, do you want to shout out somebody that's competing this weekend, or you want to keep that until the end? Nope. Okay. So we'll keep that later. So like I said, we have a great show lined up this evening. We decided this season of Sofa Chat, we weren't just going to give you the lived experience of individuals that are HIV positive. We kind of wanted to give you a broader spectrum. So we've had individuals from different spectrums dealing with different things such as mental health, substance abuse. We also had, of course, my co-producer, my lovely husband, on last week as a guest on Sofa Chat, where we interviewed him. And we kind of wanted to keep that trend going in the transmasculine spectrum. And we had the wonderful opportunity of working for the past few years with this amazing individual. He's been very influential in a lot of the work that we've done with others, with different nonprofit organizations, as well as other of his accomplishments. So I'm not going to keep you any further. I'm not going to keep him away from you guys anymore, right? But I want to get to read to you guys a little something. Let's see if I can get to the page quick enough. If not, we'll just bring him on board. Because guys, I never like to yuck anybody's yum. I like to let everybody chat for themselves, because it makes for the conversation to be a little more juicier, right? But I'm just going to give you a little snippet about our guest this evening, right? Which is Dr. Oswald Thomas, right? So I'm going to read a little bit. So Dr. Oswald Thomas, BPS, MS, CT, CHT, PhD, is a clinical psychologist, media commentator, political consultant. Dr. Thomas, you don't have to help me with that word. Astute educator, author, lecturer, and life coach with over 30 years of experience. Y'all heard that? That's a lot. That's a lot of education under that belt right there. So without further ado, I'd love for you guys to put your hands together for our guest this evening, Dr. Oswald Thomas. Come on, Dr. Thomas, join us on the sofa this evening.
Oh,
So welcome.
oh,
Thank you for coming. On to join us on the sofa this evening.
certainly a pleasure to be with you and your co-producer and the widely listening audience.
Yes, our viewers.
I'm certainly humbled by
Thank you.
this experience.
So, before we get into the book, before we get into a lot of the work that you've done, just give our viewers a little bit of background about Dr. Thomas, young Dr. Thomas, before he came the Dr. Thomas.
Well, I'm actually, I was born in Antigua, raised in Antigua, and today would have been my mother's Day, because my mom and my aunt are from San Pedro de Macorís in the Dominican Republic.
Look at that. So
Yes, certainly.
Happy Mother's Day to your mom.
Came to Antigua in 1932. And so hence, had it not been for that, I probably would have been born in the Dominican Republic. But certainly grew up in Antigua, went to school in Antigua, worked for government for many years as advisor. I've done a lot of work, and I've done a lot of political work as well as social work. I think that people should be treated and should be treated well. And so I've lived to that motto. So I've worked throughout the world, whether it is in South America, North America, Africa, the Far East. I've done quite a bit of work in terms of political and policy making, in terms of youth. My focus has always been young people, because they are the future, and if they're the future, we have to definitely train them well, so that we can have better world. So when I'm on my rocking chair, it's as well.
Make sure they're looking out.
Yeah, absolutely, make sure they're looking out. But and at some point, I made a decision that I wanted to go to college, so I did. Go to college. I spent like a semester at Bronx Community College. Then I transferred to what was then the College for Human Service, which is now Metropolitan College of New York. And I got a presidential scholarship to do my master's as well when I was finished. And then I went on to do a PhD, and did some work. I've done independent work. I've used psychology to inform me of what to do. I currently work a private practice, as well as work for the state of New Jersey in a psychiatric hospital, as well as doing other things where political campaigns and messaging. And I'm a regular commentator on radios and different type shows.
So you said your focus has been also on the youth.
Yes.
But what drives your passion for psychology to break down a person, and understand them? Where does that passion come from?
Well, one of the things I've always said, that I believe that had it not been for my mom, I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. And I remember as a young guy going to secondary school, I was tall, always grew tall from an early age. 12, I was already, way up there, 5'9". And you tease a lot when you're taller than the average kid. And sometimes, when the teacher asks a question, you raise your hand, and I get provoked, that you talk too much. And so I went home one time, and I was crying to my mom that, kids are teasing me, I talk too much. And she said to me that, do you know that a lot of people make their money by talking?
Absolutely.
And I dismiss it. And one day I was talking to someone. I said, wait a minute, I'm making my money from talking. So, but I've always tried to understand people, because, I am spiritual. I go to church, and but there's a song that always touched me when they sing that, and it says that God looks beyond my faults and saw my needs. And so I believe that is something that drives me, because I see good in everyone. Regardless of what mistakes or whatever that you have done or past or whatever, there has to be some good. And sometimes what happens is that people live what is expected of them, especially young persons. And so this is why I've always said to the parents, be careful what you're saying to your children. Be careful the names that you're calling them, because they will live what is expected of them.
Yeah.
And it's, I have a 6-year-old grandson, and every time I talk to him after school, I ask him, did you ask your teacher a good question this week? That's all I ask him. That's all I ask him. Just ask your teacher a good question. That's it. I don't force that I want 90s, I want 100s, I want all A's, all B's. Just ask a good, intelligent question.
Engaging in conversation. You learn something.
You learn a lot.
Absolutely.
Learn a lot. And I'm so proud of him. At least he's been on the honor roll for 3 times and student of the month 3 times already.
See, look at that. You continue the path. Continue the path.
Yes, absolutely. And so those are the simple things. But when you drive, and sometimes what happens is that we put our own expectation, what we would have loved to accomplish on the children. to accomplish. We wanted to be doctors, lawyers, and so forth, and we put it on our kids. And that is something that create a lot of anxiety for children.
Yeah.
A lot of it.
It does. It does. So that segues me into, in addition to your early childhood and, what fuels your passion or where it comes from for psychology, it leads me into the book. So, for those of you who may not know, the links will be up. They've been shared. They will be continued to share. So if you'd like to purchase a copy of the book, please definitely go online to our websites, our social media accounts. It's available on Barnes & Noble and it's available on Amazon. Correct?
Also an ebook.
Oh, look at that, an ebook. Oh. Well, we got the privilege of getting a hard copy. So the title of the book is The Delight and the Dilemma of Female to Male Transgender. My first question would love to be, where does your passion lie for understanding individuals of transmasculine spectrum?
Well, I came across totally by accident. Having had one of those sleepless nights, and you're in the middle of the night, can't fall asleep, tossing and turning and just changing channel, trying to find something. And so I came across the WE channel, as I explained. And then they were talking about women in entertainment. And so they introduced a couple, and then they said that the husband was born female. And I said, well, that can't be right. There was no way I could pass this guy and think that just doesn't sound right. And so I decided the next day, I wrote his name down, Googled him the next day, thank God for Google, and got some more information. And at that time, I was finishing up my PhD, and I was actually chose my topic already, and I said to my committee, I want to do this topic. So, it's going to set you back. I said, but I need to look. I think this is a phenomenon that needs to be explored. And then I couldn't find much literature about it, and the literature I found was around sex, sexual organs, that kind of stuff. But I wanted a little more. I wanted to delve into the person, not their sexuality, so to speak. And so I decided with the committee that I was going to develop an instrument and was going to find 10 to 15 individuals to interview and find out. And then I came up with what would be the interview question. And so it all centered around self-esteem and self-acceptance and whether or not that helped. And it had nothing to do with whether, some of the literatures that I found, whether or not your anatomy work or didn't work or all of that stuff. It had to do with it. But if you look at the preface in the book, and I can say this to you on the preface because I think this explains my reasoning. I just put my glasses on.
No, yeah, go ahead.
I think this explains a lot. And I realize that this book evokes a great deal of controversy for some and hopefulness for others. It is never an easy experience to challenge our socialized system of any kind, whether individually or as a group. To understand the complexities of a courageous set of people who dare to be different. They stand out in order to live their true, authentic selves. Having spent over 4 years of research and psychotherapy work with female to male transgender individuals, and producing a dissertation in partial fulfillment of my academic work, I now feel obligated to share my knowledge and conclusions without the academic jargons and type methodology which I used to complete my initial research project. Hopefully, this account of the transgender population will raise throughout thoughtful awareness in the general public, the transgender and LGBTQ communities, and amongst mental, medical, health, and religious leaders. Add to this mix families and friends who may dare or desire to initiate a discussion that in turn will unleash significant cultural shifts. I desire to speak conversation and advocacies that will inspire revision of laws, policies. Of critical importance is how we treat people who wish to be different in our societies. The beneficiaries of such changes will be each of us, our children, our loved ones. The singular subject is to cultivate caring and sensitive cultures while accepting everyone regardless of age, gender, religion, ethnic identity, and sex. Female to male transgender is a growing population I stumbled upon during a sleepless night where I kept changing channels. I came across the WE TV channel and discovered a documentary on women in the entertainment industry. To my surprise, they featured a husband and wife team. Then piqued my curiosity when they mentioned that the husband was born female and transitioned to male. As I looked on in amazement and inquiry, I did not believe what I was seeing because nothing about this guy looked female. That night, I changed my dissertation topic. Although this sets me back a year, I was determined to learn more about this emerging phenomenon. Buck Angel, born June 5th, 1962, an American pornographic film actor, producer, motivational speaker, and sex educator, was the female to male transgender whom they featured with his wife. This television show motivated me to learn more. I knew then and now that I needed to make a contribution to the issue they were experiencing.
So how do you feel? How do you feel that your book has made an impact? What impact do you feel your book has made?
Well, it gets the conversation started. And a lot of folks who have bought the book have bought the book because they're in healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
I've had therapists who have reached out to me and they've bought the book because they have themselves as transgender clients, but they don't know how to work with them.
Yeah.
They don't have any idea. They don't understand them. They don't know where the focus is. And what I want to say is that the focus of their issue shouldn't be just sexual unless they bring it up because they are human beings with other issues as well. So that's what there are a lot of healthcare persons who don't understand the phenomena. There are a lot of healthcare persons who expose them to danger by calling them not by their preferred name. And you're sitting in a waiting room and everybody look around and they see a guy and then you come out and say, not the preferred name, but a female sounding name that you can expose them. So those are some of the things that we wanted to talk about. I wanted to also look at those that transition. because what you found that those who were able to assimilate
Mm-hmm.
into their sex and gender, their self-esteem
Yeah.
shot up
Mm-hmm.
big time.
Yeah.
And they also give them that choice of disclosing at any time who they want to disclose at. So that is something that I think is a contribution that's been made. I also talk about religious acceptance, because religious acceptance is a big part of this. And when and families as well, because the acceptance of family, a lot of these guys are ostracized and you call excommunicated from their family, don't have any family, they're out there alone. And so some turn to sex work in order to survive, because they have no support system. So those are things that we talked about: the insurance system and the healthcare system, talk about discrimination in housing and healthcare and employment and stuff like that. So those are some of the things that are there, and it can be mirrors other minorities, and what we have now is something we call cis sexism when it comes to between male, cis male, and trans male. So you have that issue. So what happens now? We have self-esteem among the transgender can be very low. We have depression, higher rates of depression than the general population, higher rates of anxiety, almost double, and sometimes 4 times. Depression for trans men are 9 times that of the average American. That is really just, and it doesn't have to do anything because they're trans. It has nothing to do with their trans. It happens to do with the rejection, the oppression, the discrimination that they face from society, or the expectant rejection that they're expecting. And rejection is not an easy thing. Rejected from your family, rejected by society, rejected in your job, rejected in housing. And so you have to be very careful of who you disclose to. And so, as a matter of fact, in the book, we also talk about how a gay man is more accepted than a trans man. It's I thought that was funny, but
it's fascinating. Like for most individuals that don't understand, like right away when you discuss the topic of individuals of trans experience, right away everybody's molded into a box, not understanding that there's multiple layers, there's multiple, differentiations of individuals of trans experience and how they self-identify. And I think that's like the cruelest thing that a person can do to another person is not allow them to self-identify. They take that ability away from them. With the individuals that you've had the opportunity to engage with and have conversations with, and share some of the information in your book, do you find that no matter what stage of their transition or when they transition, that they all experience a lot of the same biases and a lot of the same trauma?
And they do, and some have it in employment. Some have it in just going to the grocery store and or being followed by police. I also talk about a kid in the book, trans kid, who was arrested and incarcerated, and how he was outed by the jail officers, raped and beaten, and everybody turned a blind eye. He ended up dying in that. Also talk about the shelter system, how the shelter system is a disaster, why a lot of trans person may prefer to engage in sex work or other jobs to make twins meet or to get a roof over there than going to the shelter system because it's unfriendly. Because when you say I'm trans, just some even doing a background check can be very difficult for some trans person, because sometimes the cis person who they have to deal with does not understand and they're not sensitive
Mm-hmm.
to their own needs. So it becomes very difficult, and that is where the mental illness
Mm.
then becomes a problem for them out of those discrimination. So for I find for a lot of trans persons, their mental illness stem from environmental factors. Not that there are some who inherit it, because like schizophrenia and certain bipolar and so forth are some, because you can either develop mental illness either by environmental factors or by hereditary factors. So, but a lot of them do from environmental factors because of what they're feeling. And gender identity, what was called and it's now called gender dysphoria, is very real, and a lot of them experience that. So that's why I wanted to find out whether or not their self-esteem went up when they were able to feel that they were accepted into their chosen sex and gender, and that shot up big time. Because there's a lot of trans men who are doing absolutely well, great at their jobs, making good money, have good position, but nobody knows that they are.
And that was going to actually be my question, as from your personal experience, having conversations and, with individuals of trans experience, do you find that, like you said, that their self-esteem goes up in certain situations and scenarios, especially when it comes into acceptance? Do you find a lot of individuals of transmasculine experience, ideally, what the slang term would be, would become live stealthily? Do you feel like that's why they become or engage in living their lifestyle stealth? Because to not deal with a lot of these stigmas that they've been put on, a lot of these expectations, a lot of these discriminations that they've been on, do you feel like that's part of the reason why they choose to live stealth?
Yes, and that is true. And some of them will say to you that now I'm a black man, I look like a black man, I'm now subject to police brutality. So sometimes that is also become real or been mishandled somehow because you have now assimilated. But for most, those who had suffered from anxiety and depression, it all seems to either disappear or really went down. And then now they can be able to sit in a therapy session and talk about their real issues, talk about the issues of being raped as a young girl early on by a family member, talk about being engendered a certain way, talk about being abused as a child, and the real issues that people go to therapy for. And so their gender or sex does not fit into or becomes the subject of the discussion, but what the abuse, some have suffered abuse from the hands of the mother. Look, some parents already knew, especially some mothers already knew that their child was different from an early age. Some were lucky that they had a mom or parent who recognized it and also supported. And others have not. But what we do find that those families that are more religious tend to discriminate more against their children.
Absolutely, they do. Do you find that to be, because I've had the opportunity to engage in conversations with a variety of different individuals, especially with the work that I do. Do you find it more prominent in this outside of New York for it to happen more?
Well, it can happen anywhere, but when you go to certain closed states, you have a wider discriminative factor, especially states that are more conservative. You can have that sort of issue. In the book, I looked at the worldview. I look at places like Malta and so forth, and they have passed legislation that a baby born in Malta does not have to be assigned a sex. child decides the sex. Canada has also come on board in not assigning sex, and the parents can wait until the child feels who they are that day. Because technically, no kid is born male or female.
No.
We engendered them that way. But by law, let's talk about by law, the law says that once the doctors open, and whatever they see, they say, oh, it's a boy, oh, it's a girl. And from hence, you're expected to play with a Barbie doll, or you're expected to play with a truck, or a G.I. Joe, or something of that sort. And that is how. And if you are seen as a boy playing with a doll or whatever, black Barbie or white Barbie, you are, it's dragged from you. We're like, what? You know, and you're given a truck because that is what you're supposed to.
Yeah, then the social norm.
And that is the social norm.
Yeah, absolutely. So before I dive into any more questions, I always like to tap into my co-producer over there, who's always making sure that everybody's watching us and stuff like that. So, babe, you got any questions you want to ask? You want to engage in the conversation?
Wow. I guess there is so many different like different things. You touched on so many different things that is very definitely sensitive. I mean, coming from a transmasculine spectrum, the book is based off of transmasculine, and so to hear the different things that definitely do affect us, that have affected us, that's okay. As we always say, we go from an I statement, and so a lot of the things that you've touched have been in the past, have touched. You learn it, as trans men, we're learned or we're taught in a manner to get over things, to man up. And then at other things, we're also told to be quiet. So we oh, wow, it's such a hard subject to talk about, even for yourself, because you feel like that if you let too much out, you become a target at some point. And you don't want to feel like you're becoming a target, but at the end of the day, you want to be honest so that everybody can get proper help. Be seen as individuals. Everybody has a different story, and a lot of us come from backgrounds where we were definitely abused, and a lot of us came from backgrounds where we learned to overcome it, and so we stay invisible because that's where we remain safe.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and that's why it's important for the contribution to literature, so that we can educate folks that trans persons are there. They're becoming more visible. That's who they are. They're no less of a person or a man. And that's who they are. That's who they need to be accepted as. And acceptance doesn't take anything from you.
No,
it doesn't take away anything from you. It makes the world safer, a better place for all of us to coexist in. And that's something that we have to sell to the general public. And yes, some people would say, oh, but you're promoting this or you're promoting that. Not promoting anything, you're simply promoting human being.
And education.
And education. Because at the end of the day, God loves us all.
It's awesome that you've taken the time to actually write a piece of literature to educate others, because it makes me think of what we're just talking about right now makes me think of how when we grew up, especially myself going to school, you were taught that it's like you can be one thing. You can be a firefighter, you can be a police officer, you can be one thing. You cannot be multiple things. Like, we didn't know what it was to become an entrepreneur, so therefore it's exactly what you stated. Like, when you started looking into this topic and starting to write literature, doing your research, it was all focused on sexuality and like your sexual preference, not your gender identity. So having this be that tool where people can actually educate themselves is awesome.
You know what? There is something else I do want to say. I want to say thank you. Coming from the transmasculine, to be able to be seen and heard under, just for an individual, and not something focusing on our how we're having sex and who we're having sex with, and if we're having sex and stuff like that, just us in our mental state of being that we are individuals and that we go through different things. So thank you. That means a lot coming from someone in a cisgender as masculine, that we hear that y'all care about us equally. Not that we're just, I don't know how to explain it. It's just like when you're being tokenized a lot, and then somebody's actually being genuine, and so that means a lot.
And when I look at the literature, the research, and mental illness and mental health, and realize that a transgender male, especially transgender youth, that suicide is higher than the normal population.
Yes.
And attempted suicide, in terms of it's four times the average of the general population. The cisgender man has not made that amount of attempt. And what I found from those that I spoke to and have worked with, once they were able to assimilate into their chosen sex and gender, wanting to kill themselves, disappear. Because now when they look in the mirror, because I like to ask the question in therapy, when you look in the mirror, what do you see? What's looking back at you? And some will definitely say, well, I see the person that I am. The person that I feel inside is the person that I'm looking at in the mirror. And for some went on full surgery to get rid of their gender dysphoria, from all the way, and others just wanted that look. And that was enough for them.
They say, just get them off of
just
me.
get these things
off
off.
of me.
This is not who I have. Some would name their parts as junk or whatever they would call them and stuff like this. This is just not who I am, but this is the real me. I'm looking in the mirror and I'm seeing. One person I remember said to me, I went to Times Square and I was able to walk into the male bathroom and use the male bathroom, and there were lots of other male, and nobody said, hey, you don't belong in here. And that was a wonderful feeling. I've had someone who said that they work as a cook, went back to work as a man and got more pay than when they were cooking as a female. Got more respect from the other cooks and kitchen folks than when they worked there at that same place as a female.
And that's absolutely true.
It's
absolutely true.
I do have a good question. And this question, I've never asked this. I've never even asked this to my husband. And I'd love to know like both opinions, as a cis male and as a trans male. For women of trans experience, ideally, no matter, and I think this is for any individual that's of trans experience, but I'd love the feedback from a transmasculine spectrum as well as your spectrum. For women of trans experience, and I'll keep it on an I statement, no matter how much work I get done on myself, whether mentally, physically, cosmetic, I can walk out of my house and walk down the street, and there could be another person of trans experience that, because of society's labels, is not as passable as what would be considered myself, right? No matter how much work I've done on myself, they could be talking about that person and be like, look at that dude. And it brings me right back to step one, not being comfortable in my own gender, even though I've taken the necessary steps to become the person that I wanted to be, right? So as a therapist and as a person, contributing towards the education so people can know, and understand individuals of trans experience, what has your experience been, within the transmasculine spectrum on how they feel about that?
And, in the book, I talk about trans prejudice. There was a whole chapter there
Mhm.
talks about trans prejudice, and and sometimes you in the cis sexism,
Mhm.
it's you get that kind of comment because there are cis persons who are not comfortable themselves
Mhm.
within their own sexuality or who they are, and so therefore they are worried, shame, or something of that sort that they were looking at that person and may have found some attraction. And because of they have found that attraction, one of the best ways to deal with that is to discount it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not good. Oh, forgive me. Look at it, trying to be you're ugly or something of that sort. Because they found themselves having an attraction to that person. So they developed that.
It's funny that you're saying that because I guess I'll go to high school days, between junior high and high school days. I guess that's where you start to get more of the who's liking who and things like that. And I've always been who I've been. I knew at a very young age, and the point is, when I was growing up, there was the internet like that. There was no trend. You couldn't get no information like that, and so I was always just very aggressive. I guess you would say that ultimate tomboy. I was the super. Back in the days, the joke was I was the Superman, the He-Man. Everything that was masculine, that went from cartoon to real life. That's who I was to everybody outside. And some people they meant it in a how you say in a way of being, how you say, they meant it not in a derogatory way, and then there was other people that did it in a derogatory way. They wanted to be jokeful, but this is all the only way they could describe me. I was always doing something, and so as you get older, you have I was female. You have the guys that's attracted. I played football with the guys. And so there was a lot of times that when we played tackle, there was a lot of times that I busted out into a fight with the other guys because they were over tackling. They were tackling with the hands, grabbing stuff. And no, we're not doing that. That's so disrespectful. Y'all don't tackle each other like that. You ain't tackle my man like that. You ain't grabbing his jump. Why you grabbing mine? And so these are different things that even though these things was happening, I still wanted to play. And then it is when they learned that I would fight, these things stopped, and so it's, I guess it's with you, it's a different type of hazing, and then a learning a different type of respect of if depending on how it's happening and where it's happening, because there's a lot of different situations where you don't have enough strength in the mind to be like, yo, what are you doing? You're too scared. You're worried about your life savings, but it's wow.
Which is part of that sexism. And and somebody wanted to show that you're not real, I am real. And others may have described, I guess sometimes it comes from an early age that they say, she's just a tomboy or wannabe kind of stuff, not recognizing the gender that person is, and so they justify that. As we get more educated and become more educated, and folks become more visible, it's become more important for us to talk, have this conversation. In 1952, when the first transgender woman came back to America, it was sensationalism here because she had gone over to Germany to get her sex changed.
Yes.
So it shows that the Europeans were way ahead of
They were very progressive. Yeah.
And sex is pretty open in some society. So we are still close. But I think most of the time we react to things based on our education or our clothes buying.
You know what I was also thinking about also, that I guess my mind started running on, is how people treat you when other people are around. because they feel a persona of what other people are. And then when those people are no longer around, then they want to be your best friend. Now they love you and they want to be with you. And it's just like, hold on, wasn't you just teasing me? Like, what are you doing?
Right.
What is wrong with you? And so, and so there's different things like that that brings on confusion within, I would say, in our community, because you don't.
And medicine and mental health has come a long way, because before it was considered a mental illness.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
it's
mental
funny.
illness,
I
a
was
crime.
actually just educating. So I just did a gender sensitivity training on the staff at my facility, because the company had never had one. And it's funny, providing them with some education on what it was like for a person of trans experience many years ago in the 80s and the 70s, where you could not walk down the street in women's clothing without having at least, for a trans woman, 3 articles of men's clothes, and for a trans man, 3 articles of women's clothes on. If not, you are arrested. Providing that education, but also to see how progressive we've come. We still have a ways to go, but we've definitely made some headway. We're growing down to our last 9 minutes. But I definitely like you to give any last remarks, anything you'd like to share to our viewers. Anything.
Well, I mean, I just really like to, publicly, thank Javon Martin, who is the founder of Princess Janae Plays. Especially thanks to Kim and Chris Benjamin, because when I approached them about my idea, Chris, said, "Of course, I will help," and Kim said yes, and Chris became my gatekeeper and recruited the men for me, because I have no idea. And I said, "Chris, I'm a cis man going to a trans guy, say, I want to talk to you. It's always best if somebody they're familiar with."
Yeah.
So we were able to do so. I certainly want to thank them for the work that they do and continue to do in this field of getting people to know that this is not a joke for a lot of folks. And in the book, I talk about how people feel. And there is a section called The Voices of Trans Men. They talk about some of the questions that were asked. And so I want people to know. But I want people to know that people are people. And first we have to do is to accept one another for who we are. Not who you would like me to be. Not who you would like me to become, but for who I am. And if we're able to meet that at that juncture, then the world will be a better place. There will be, and I've seen news of a lot of trans people being killed. And some people will make joke and say, "Oh, well, maybe she didn't disclose, or maybe he didn't disclose," or something of that sort. But we can't make light of a person's life. This is a person's life.
Exactly.
It may not be yours, but it is their life, and each life must be valued. So I ask people to keep an open mind, and if we're able to do that, the world will be a better place for all of us. We can all coexist.
Absolutely. So do you see yourself writing some more educational material?
I do see myself writing some more educational material. As a matter of fact, I've been contacted by 2 individuals who wants me to help with some more research of trans men across America.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then there's another group that wants me to help with some other types of research and write-ups. So hopefully it's something, work in progress.
There you go. We look forward to it.
Yes.
We look forward to it.
Definitely.
I'd like to definitely say thank you for taking the time on a Sunday during Memorial Day weekend to come and sit on the sofa with us and have this amazing conversation. Ideally, that needs to be had. I personally feel that within the trans community, the trans women seem to be highlighted more than the trans men. They don't you know, they get more opportunities than trans men. And as a woman married to a trans man, I feel that we should be equally acknowledged. We should be equally given the opportunity to speak and share because we have individuals' experience. So for you to have taken the opportunity to write such an amazing book, educating individuals on the transmasculine spectrum, which is something that needs to be done. I also like to say thank you in addition to my husband, because it's something that it's conversations that need to be had that aren't being had. So lastly, where can our viewers find you if they want to contact you, or if they want to bring you in for speaking engagements, or to, you know, educate those that they work with? Where can they find you? Where can they reach you?
Well, they can easily reach me at Long Island City Psychotherapy Services at 718-721-0606. Certainly, or you can drop me an email at T as in Thomas, C as in Charles, F as in Frank, L as in Larry, Dr. Thomas, Dr. Thomas at gmail.com.
So you've heard it straight from Dr. Thomas, where you can reach him. You will definitely be able to tap on the links on our social media sites to be able to purchase his book. So definitely go out and support. Educate yourself, and educate those around you. You know, ideally, because we end up, you know, taking on this education, and then once you read the book, you put it down, you put it on your shelf, and you forget about it. And when someone's in need, you kind of forget that you have this toolbox in your arsenal where you can educate, or at least provide a resource to education. So definitely educate yourself. We will definitely be back next week with another guest for Sofa Chat. Like I said in the beginning of the show, please definitely, if you have the opportunity to meet us on 161st Street in Grand Concourse on June 2nd for the flag raising ceremony, please do so. Please definitely check out. My husband and I will be on a TV show on the 1st, so we'll post that up to the link. In addition to that, if you'd like to purchase tickets to Comedy in Harlem on June 25th, please do so. If you'd like to purchase tickets to be in our live studio audience for July 24th, please definitely email us at sofachat02@gmail.com. Babe, you have any final thoughts before we end this awesome
Absolutely.
broadcast?
To those competitors out there, don't forget to get your tail over there to the nytvf.info and sign up. You know, registration is open, and in another 2 weeks, the registration is going to go up. So you better get over there.
Look at that. You heard it straight from his mouth. Look at that. You better get on there and register. So we constantly, the last couple of weeks, we've been getting off a little late. So we're going to give you guys like a minute or two back up your day to enjoy your Memorial Day week and weekend. In this long weekend, I happen to have tomorrow off with my husband, even though he took an extra day off after me, but we're not going to talk about that. We're going to keep that personal. Anywho, hope you guys have a great week. Please turn your negatives into a positive. And if ain't nobody tell you they love you, I need you to take out your phone, make it a selfie, take out a mirror, take out something that you can look in a reflection. Tell yourself that you matter. You are worthy. You are important. You know why? Because you have to love yourself before you can love someone else. Like I said, hope you guys have a great week. Thank you again, Dr. Thomas, and we'll be back next Sunday for another episode of Sofa Chat. Have a great one, guys.
Enjoy. Great Memorial Day.
Yeah, happy Memorial Day.
Yes.
Go get that barbecue.
That's right.